This is the lecture for COM 410, Module 4, Assessing and Balancing Power. Power is a fundamental concept in interpersonal conflict. Whenever two people find themselves involved in a dispute, the issue of power is sure to arise. Indeed, people in conflict almost never agree about anything having to do with power. A common perception about power is that power is an attribute that can be held by a person. And it's based on things like perhaps your ability to manage time, money, or people, on your communication skills, or on who you might know. However, it's important to recognize that power is not something that can simply be owned by an individual. Instead, power should be seen as a product of the relationship that we're in. In our relationship as teacher and student, for example, I have power over you, but only to the extent that you need the things I can provide: instruction, feedback, and perhaps most importantly, that all-important grade that you're looking for. I have power over you, but only to the extent that I control the resources that you need to be successful. After this class is over, we may still have a professor-student relationship, and I may still be able to help you with your academic success, but my power base in the relationship will probably change fairly significantly because I will no longer have any direct influence on your learning or on your grades. Because power in relationships depends on one party's control of resources that are valued by their partner, and since power is a dynamic product of shifting and changing relationships, the amount of power that any one individual has at any one time can never be precisely measured. One thing, though, that everyone seems to agree on is that each person will firmly believe that the other person has more power than they do. We assess who seems to have the most resources and then attribute power to that person, even when the resources may have nothing to do with the goals and interests that are important in the relationship. If we view our relationships as a one-way street in which one party is exerting their influence on the other, and if we conclude that we lack power in that relationship, we may attempt to compensate with communication strategies that we think will increase our own power, rather than by communicating in ways that are most likely to enable us to use power in a productive way. A relational view of power is based on a different understanding of how power works. In the relational perspective, relationships are understood to be two-way. Each participant is seen as having power with the other party. Acknowledging that both parties have power in a relationship because both parties control some resources that are important to the other is a much more productive way to view power in relationships. In fact, constructive conflict management begins when we begin to search for and recognize our power with others. In other words, if we begin with the assumption that all parties in a dispute have power, then we can begin to use our power for the mutual benefit of ourselves and our partners. Now, it might appear from our discussion so far that a better approach in interpersonal relationships might be to simply avoid exercising any sort of power in those relationships. Whether we like it or not, though, power is always going to be a factor because of our interdependence. Remember, power comes from the fact that we control resources that our partners need, value, desire, or fear. It simply isn't possible to avoid using power altogether. We can, however, use power in ways that build and enhance our relationships. Although all parties have sources of power, it's important to remember the possession of power is always a relative judgment. So, whenever we believe we're operating under conditions of power imbalance, this perception can have a negative effect on our relationship. Whether we are in a position of high power or low power, the power imbalance itself tends to bring about strong emotional responses, which then become part of the conflict. In Western culture, high power is often a very important goal. However, a constant level of high power may lead to perceptual distortions that cause us to pursue power as an end in itself. This can be accompanied by the temptation, for example, to use institutional resources for our own personal self-enrichment. We may develop new values that are designed to protect our own power, and we may devalue people who are less powerful, eventually avoiding close contact with them altogether. In short, striving for power can corrupt a person's view of the self, their view of the other, and in the end, it can destroy relationships. Now, while unrestrained high power can be damaging to relationships, low power can also damage relationships. This is because people who feel powerless often feel they have only two choices in responding to the other person's perceived high power condition. One choice is to give up, and the other choice is to fight back. However, while both aggression and apathy are strategies that people use to try to balance power, neither approach is likely to lead to productive conflict.